of Pessah. So we continue the Halakhot of Pessah because we saw the topic was very heavy. And I think last time we stopped on Halakha 9, talking about the way to sell the chametz and also the way to sell the place or any kind of possession you have. If you, for example, you are a landlord of a store. So I remember it was Rabbi Eliezer Gaon who was reading. So now I want to read Halakha 10. We try to explain them. And sorry that you will not have the text because I don't have any choice except if I saw it to you like this. But it seems to be small, so it's odd, a little bit odd. So we are on Halakha 10. Always going to try to explain and to see what's happened, what is deep behind. So in the Halakha 10 it's saying like this. אחר שגמר אכילתו ביום 14 ישרף הוא בכבודו בעצמו את החמץ וענישה. דמצווה בו יותר משלמותו, אבל אסור לזרוק החמץ ברשות הרבים, משום ביזיון. וגם יש בזה חילול השם לעיני הגויים. המנהג לשרפו בחצר בארבע של הושענא ועיין חיים לראש, דף י"ב. ואחר ששרפו לבטלו מיד, ואמרו דחזתי דלאה חזתי. ואומר הביטול 3 פעמים. ולא יתבטלו קודם שריפה, כדאי לקיים מצוות שריפה בחמץ שלו. ואם לבאה כי קאה קודם פסח מוטב, יחזירה קודם פסח. ואם לא, יחזירו קודם, יחזירנו אחר פסח. ואין בזה חשש אם לא יחזירו. יש בזה משום גזל. So he's saying, when you are in the 30th of Nisan, basically in the morning, there is a final moment, a final hour when you are allowed to eat chametz, basically to eat products which have yeast. So let's say, for example, this year it's maybe around 10, let's say 10:30. We're gonna see it after. You know that at 10:30 on the 40th of Nisan, you are not allowed to eat your chametz. So say you have to burn the chametz by yourself. You can take a box or a vessel, you put inside any kind of paper or things that can be easily burned. You put inside the small parts of chametz that you you have eaten last time in the night, and you look after them with the candle. So you have now all of them with rods inside of a vessel, and you So he said, now you're going to burn them. You have to burn them by yourself. It's very important because it's a very important mitzvah that it's better not to give to another one. So the biyur chametz, burning the chametz on the morning of the 40th Nisan is something you have to keep it with a lot of jealousy for you. Do it by yourself. And after he said, it's forbidden to throw the chametz on the street or on the public space. Because it shows that you disrespect this element, this nutriment, which is basically bread. And it's also a way to make chilul Hashem. You don't bring the name of God to be elevated in the eyes of non-Jewish. So this come to confirm what we saw last week, that the chametz, Shalom Rabbi Victor Israel, Please come.
Shalom, shalom, Rabbi.
Shalom,
Shalom,
shalom.
shalom.
Shalom, Rabbi Yoshi Media.
Shalom, Harav. Shalom, Harav.
Shalom, shalom.
Shalom.
So, what happened from that situation? We understand that it's telling you, keep the mitzvah of burning the chametz for yourself. Don't give it to another one, because this is something very high, very elevated, and you will have a personal pleasure, a personal blessing by doing by your own the burning of the chametz on the morning of the 40th.
Shalom, Harav.
Shalom, Rabbi Aaron Emeka. Shalom, shalom.
Shalom,
So
shalom, Harav. Shalom, shalom. Shalom, Harav.
So he said you have to burn your chametz alone. So like I said, sorry, I will not send the picture on the group because my phone is broken and I can't I cannot picture the page. So I'll try to fix it as soon as possible. With what I say.
So sorry, Rabbi.
Thank you. So he said, what's happened? You have to burn the chametz in the morning of the 40th. Do it by yourself. Be very jealous to do it by yourself because this mitzvah is very important. Never let bread outside in the street, in the public space, because it's disrespectful. And this don't elevate the name of God in front of non-Jews. This means that, and this confirms that, we have never been dealing with the Yetzer Hara when we talk about chametz. It's written, black and white. This is a holy thing. And this is, if you throw it in the public space, which can be disrespectful regarding the name of God. He said, we have the habit to burn the chametz with the arava, basically with your lulav. And he said that you use on Hoshana Rabbah. He said, straight after you finish to burn the chametz, you have to say a formula, like we saw last time. But this formula is basically here to say that myself in my corner, I know that I checked and I've burned any kind of chametz. But we never know. So we say a formula, basically, which will nullify and erase any kind of chametz that I maybe forget and maybe I didn't see. So you say it first time in the night when you were looking after the chametz with your candle, and the second time in the morning just after you have burned the chametz. You say, Kol Chamira. And this formula, you say it 3 times. Like this, the chametz is nullified. And he said, say this formula after you have been burning the chametz. Don't say it before the burning of the chametz. And he said, if you are used to borrow some bread from people, try to give them back their bread before we enter in the 40th of Nisan. So now my question for you, what do you understand here about this year? Because this year, Pessah will be Motzei Shabbat, right?
Yes, Rabbi. Yes, Rabbi.
So the 40th of Pessah will be Shabbat.
Yes, Rabbi.
Yes, Rabbi.
What do you do? What is the rules? What are the rules?
We do the search and we do the searching on Thursday night, Rabbi.
And when do you do the burning?
Rabbi, on Friday morning.
Okay. Do you eat bread on Shabbat?
Yes, Rabbi. We eat the halal.
We eat the halal on Shabbat, but it's going to be very early in the morning. Let's say we do the second and the third meal, say before at most by 10 a.m. on Shabbat morning.
By 10 a.m., yes.
And do you eat bread at Shalosh Lishit?
During the evening meal on Yom Shishit, Rabbi, the Erev Shabbat meal.
So my question is, Pessah is Motzei Shabbat. You have to do Seudah of evening, Seudah of morning, and also Seudah Shlishit. So what do you eat on Seudah Shlishit? Do you eat bread or not?
Rabbi, who eat bread, but we may do the Seudah Shlishit immediately after the second meal, Rabbi.
Okay, Rabbi Israel, look the problem you create. You create big problem because the 40th is Shabbat, and you said you have a maximal time to be allowed to eat chametz. It will be around 10:30. You said something very good, very right. You said that the second meal of Shabbat should be done early, before the final hour where you're allowed to eat chametz. So it means that the Seudah Shlishit will be without bread, because you're not allowed to eat bread since 10:30. It's done. You have to brush your teeth. We shouldn't have found any kind of chametz inside of your teeth even. So since the hour, the maximum hour where you are authorized to eat some bread is past, it's done. You cannot eat any kind of bread. So Seudah Shlishit will be with vegetables, with fruits, water, drinks, but not bread. And not matzah, because you're not allowed to eat matzah before Pesach starts. Do you get it, Tzadikim, Rabbanim?
Yes,
Rabbi.
Rabbi.
Yes, Rabbi.
Yes,
Yes,
clear.
Rabbi. It's
It's
clear.
clear.
It's clear.
Baruch Hashem.
Toda Rabba.
You're welcome. So now we continue. Halakha 11. I will straight because the text is not in front of you. Translate. If you have a new shirt which have chametz, which is what we call it, chametz nukshe. What is chametz nukshe? It means that the chametz was in your pocket, but you washed the shirt and the chametz enter inside of the fabric. They are now one. You see? Basically, the chametz and the clothes become one because of the washing. If you're in that case, that we call R1. Or some aspect said, what is chametz nukshe? It's not that the chametz become one with your clothes. No, it's kind of maybe let me see. In English, you can call it. 1 second. You called it starch. You know starch?
Yes, Rabbi.
Yes, Rabbi. We know starch.
Okay, starch is done with cereals, so it's chametz. So if you used to put starch on your clothes, which is basically chametz being connected to your clothes in the deep aspect, you have to watch that shirt very carefully to remove from that shirt any kind of starch. And he said, first of all, how you do it? You put the shirt inside of water, and then the purpose is to push out any kind of starch. And he said, this will bring you to be allowed to wear that shirt during the Hagim, during the festival. He said, why? Because if you don't remove that starch, it's for sure that one element, one very small particle element of the starch will arrive inside of your mouth during the Chag. Why? Because we touch always the clothes, and sometimes by touching the clothes, we touch the mouth, we touch the face. So my shirt is full of starch, and I use my hands, and my hands will touch the food, and the food will go inside of my mouth. So it's done. If you don't remove from your clothes the starch, you will be bringing chametz inside of your mouth during Pessah. And this situation is forbidden, even in a very, 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 very small quantity. And he said, because most of the time, when men go to the toilet, when they finish, they always put their hands on the shirt, to put inside the titit, because you are in bet peor, you are in the toilet. So he said, for sure you will touch your shirt. For sure you will touch it. So your hands will be full of starch, so full of chametz. And he said, not only that, some men, when they take their shirts, they put it like this in the middle of the teeth, like this. They hold it like this. So is starch going inside of your mouth. Chametz going inside of your mouth. And also, he says sometimes people don't really make up their mind. They just clean their mouth with their clothes. You do something like this. Here is starch going in your mouth. And he said, you have to wash that clothes before the fast, and even the any kind of fabric you use, to clean your sweating, or to any kind of fabric you use, especially this coming from Europe, you have to be sure that inside of them they have starch. So remove them. Also, the fabric you put on the table, they have starch. And he said it's forbidden to eat on them when they have starch inside of them. And he said, same thing for the fabric you put on your bed before in order to sleep. If they have starch, it's also forbidden. And he said, because what's happened, because what happened all this time, all this moment, because in Baghdad, when they were doing Pessah, they were sitting on the beds. Why? Because when you drink the cup, some of them you have to bring laying like this, and you lay on your right side and you drink. So laying for them means that they have to be on a bed. So that's why I say you have even to change the fabric of your bed. So the Halakha 11, Halakha Yud Aleph, is giving you many, many advices regarding the product you use to wash your clothes. If you have starch inside, please be careful, because the situation becomes really, really dangerous. After Halakha 12, he said, it's forbidden to use vessels with chametz, or vessels you were used to cook on them chametz without making the kashrut. What does it mean? If I know that the vessel I'm going to use is, let's say, it can be made kosher for Pessah by burning, or by agala. It means that you will put them in hot waters. So he said, if you are in that case, it's forbidden for you to use them without making them kosher. You have to know which kind of materials can be kosher. You have to know all this. We're gonna see that later. He said the purpose is to make these vessels kosher. It depends also, the purpose and the way to make this vessel kosher depend also how you were using them all the day before. He said, if it's by using hot waters, you will do what we call agala with hot waters. He said, we have to put inside of that hot waters in purpose to make them kosher for Pessah, only vessels when the water is boiling. If the water is only hot but not boiling, this will not work. The water have to be boiling before you say, this cup now I want to make you kosher for Pessah. If you see that your waters are hot but not boiling, bring the fire to be stronger and really bring them to be boiling. He said, it's good to let the vessels in the boiling water some moment, a little bit, some moments, few seconds and minutes, let's say. The purpose is to let the boiling water to enter in all the size, in all the thick aspect of the vessel. If it's thick like this or very slim, take time. Let the water going inside to remove any kind of chametz, which can be rooted inside of the materials itself. He said, but when you do that, don't let it too long, because the longer you will let it, it will make your water chametz. So after what are you doing? You're bringing chametz to chametz. So few seconds, it's like this. I take, I put, I wait, I remove. After he said, just 1 second. Hoping that's gonna work in a few minutes. So we were talking, we were talking about the way to make your vessel kosher for Pessah. So we are talking about agala. What is agala? It means that you will boil waters and you will put inside the vessel that you are used to use with what we say with the chametz. So I said, before you do the agala, the boiling system, you have first to wash carefully all the vessels in order to release any kind of rust. Because like you know, the rust is a bad sign. We studied together that rust being found on a soul, rust will be called a screen, putting you far, far away from the possibility of understanding deep Torah, inner Torah. So you see now that what is one of the consequences of you. Shalom Rabbi Eliyahu Gaon.
Shalom, Arav.
Shalom. What is one of the consequences of you not being aware regarding your chametz vessels by making them kosher? The risk you are taking is to bring your soul to be full of rust. That's why he's talking here about one step before you start to boil all the vessels is you clean all the vessels and you remove all the rust. You say, why? Also, if you have small holes where it's impossible to remove the rust, you have also to bring that place to be kosher, but not by being boiled, but by being under fire. We have to put fire on that place. This is the second aspect. And after said, when you make this strategy of bringing your vessel to be kosher, you have to do it before the 5th hour. Why? Because all the other conditions have to be respected to be able to do that mitzvah. What does it mean? Even if you make the kosher work on the vessel before the 5th hour, you have to be sure that these vessels hadn't been used during the last 24 hours. So you have to be sure that even if I really need that plate or that fork or that spoon to be with me on Pessah, don't use them 24 hours before you make the boiling or the using the fire. Why? The purpose for you to do that is first, not to be mixed up by not to be mixed up by using these vessels. And basically, you use the vessel for the chametz, and you want to use it for Pessah. We need you to make afsaka or pausa between the two different kind of using. Stop. Don't say yesterday or before 1 hour I was using it with my cereals or my bread. I'm boiling. I use it now for Pessah. It's not good. We have to make a difference, big difference, and that difference have to be of 1 day. And he said, like this also your mind will be settled in the proper way. You will say, okay, I have now the logical of understanding that my vessels wasn't permitted for Pessah, but now after this 24 hours of waiting, after me washing them properly, I bring them to another stage. So this is important for you to set your mind in that way. And after he said another thing, he's saying, if you want to use, what is the name of that in English? If you want to use a pine or maybe tongs, anything you will use to hold the vessel that you will put in the boiling water, you use it, but once the vessels and the tongs and the pine are in the boiling water, you have to turn them in order to be sure that every side of the vessel will be boiled, and that not only the part where you are holding will be disconnected from the boiling waters. And he said, the Harakadosh, say in Shar Ta'amei Mitzvot, he said, it's easy.
I have a question.
Yes.
Harav, you mentioned that a tongue may be used, but of course, the water is boiling.
Yeah.
So when the tongue is used on the vessel, did you say it has to be released briefly so that the hot water will touch the whole part of the vessel, or you still can hold on to the vessel with the tongue?
It's like this. Let's say this is the tongue. I'm holding the vessel. Okay. I put inside.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
this part is under the tongue. So what I do, I turn it. I turn it. I turn it. The purpose is to avoid that one part of the vessel will not be under the boiling water. That's why I say you have to turn. You turn.
Okay.
Good, Rabbi.
Okay.
Okay. So the Ari Kadosh said, in this time, some people, when they wanted to use vessels made with copper for Pessah, they were bringing some thyme to be putting on it. You put some thyme on the copper like this, it says it's good for Pessah. Many people were doing that in that time. He said, if you want to do that, basically you want to cover your vessel in copper by new materials will be done by time. He said, if you want to do that, first thing, be sure that your vessel, when it was in the state of copper, have been boiled properly. Why? Because if you don't do that, even if you put new materials who will cover all the copper, the chametz will pass from material to materials. So before you do that, first bring all the vessel in copper to be boiled. And after you can cover if you want. He said, why? Because all the tin that you put on the copper, when you will put your vessel to be boiled, he said all the chametz which is inside of the vessel in tin cannot go out. Why? There is a shield, don't giving it to him to go out from the copper's vessel. So it will stay inside. And he said, also, in that case, we cannot be satisfied of the using the kosher technique of libun. Libun, it's basically when you bring fire on the metals or on the elements to make it kosher. Why? He said, because if you want to make libun, to use fire to bring copper to be kosher for Pessah, copper usually used with chametz to be kosher for Pessah, he said the temperature of the fire is not something easy that you can get. So it will not work because you will a really high level of fire, meaning that even you can so high that you see sparks coming out from the fire. If you don't see that, you cannot be sure that you have brought your vessel in copper to be kosher for Pesach. And he said, regarding also the tin, it's impossible to bring tin to that level of heat. He said, what is better? The best thing is to use the boiling to take away any kind of chametz from the materials of our vessels. And after, the non-Jewish can't next to with under the eyes of the owner can make the tin, put the tin on the copper. So basically, it's not maybe not our generation who do that, but I bring it to let you know that when people want to cover something to say I will use it for Pessah because now it's covered with new materials, but there's also techniques. And he said, be careful that after these techniques, not to bring the vessels in cold temperature by the doer which probably is a goy. Why? Because in the water where you will put your vessel to bring it to be in normal temperature, in that water he was putting vessels of other people who were chametz. So don't let him do. Wait, and after go back home and make it by yourself. And he said, here in our city, Baghdad, we don't do things like this. But we use tin to cover vessels of Hametz that we use what we always use when they are hot. It means that kind of vessel that you put in the oven or kind of vessel that you put on the fire during the year. And he said, we do first agala, and after that, we make them kosher for Pessah, and after that, we can cover them with the tin. Said, we don't forbid that way of acting, covering vessels with other materials. Yes, why? Because in Baghdad in general, because in Baghdad, they have one tradition, which is not to cook chametz inside of vessels. This is their tradition. So there's some kind of plate they don't eat. So their logical is anything which is chametz should never be cooked in vessels during the year. It was the minhag in Baghdad. Very high. So it means that any kind of play, any kind of food based on bread, on flour, you only use specific kind of vessel where you make, for example, omelets, or where you make eggs. Very small, very thin, but they don't use big pots to make that. To cook chametz with that. He said, that's why in Baghdad the minhag is different. We don't bring the logical Fahya Kadosh because we know that the families are not used to cook chametz in big vessels. He said, it's the same laws, same logical, regarding the vessels used because of the mixing of milk and meat. If this happened to you, Chazal Shalom, you have first to bring them to be boiled into very, very, very hot waters, boiling waters. And after that, you can cover them with tin, like Sidra. So this was very technical halakha. As Hashem, we got it. What you have to keep in mind is that boiling is very important, and this have to be done on vessels without rust and so on. And not only that, covering vessels with other materials should also be done with wisdom. Don't think that being covered is enough for them. Halakha 13. After the kosher techniques of agala and libun, boiling and fire to make the vessels kosher for Pessah, we have the use to rinse the vessels with cold water. For this one who don't have bad reaction with cold waters when they have been eaten before. So he said, so basically, the main idea is don't be careful, because sometimes when you bring something to be boiled, you have some small elements like sand being basically the result of what was boiled from the previous state. So there is, so say, release them. Don't think that it's only something mixed with the water. No. When you bring your vessel to be boiled, sometimes the chametz passed inside of the materials when it comes out like small particles. And he said, rinse them very good and don't let them be passed on the pot. Halakhot 14. All the vessels that you put on fire, like for example, if you make, you have in Africa, we have this. You have a very long, how do you say it? You do. When you do skewers, you understand the word? I will paste it in the group message on Zoom. See? You see that? You see that?
Yes, Rabbi.
Okay. So all
Yes, Rabbi, we saw it.
okay. So all kind of vessel like this that you put straight on the fire. It said you have to make them kosher for Pessah also, but only by firing, not by boiling waters. And he said there is no need to use boiling waters. And he said it's possible. It's possible, when you have, like this. 1 second. I will learn many words in English today. If you have pan, pan when you can make some food, you can do it by agala. It's not a problem. The Rama says that the Rama is more with Ashkenazim. He said you have to burn them, and people who are very strict in that situation don't say that it's just enough for me to burn them, but also to boil them first. If you are so strict, you deserve a blessing, but you don't need to bring them to the level of being red by the heat of your fire. It's just enough to bring some sparks out by passing a fire on it. And he said it's enough. When you have vessels made from clay or from earth, clay or argil, he said there is no way to make them kosher for Pessah if you use them being hot when you eat some chametz. Even if they are in porcelain. You understand what is porcelain? Yeah, it's porcelain.
Yes, Rabbi.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even
Yes,
if,
Rabbi.
even if they're in porcelain, you have to clean them very well. You put them on the sun in a place which is closed in order not to use them for Pessah because they are forbidden for Pessah. You cannot make them kosher for Pessah. Also, the plate of steel, metals, let's say of metals, the plate based done by metals, covered by glass. He said you cannot make them kosher also. Every kind of vessels in glass that you use in cold situation, even those who serve to drink beers which is basically done from cereals. He said they are allowed to be used for Pessah if you put them in hot water 24 hours before, and after you put them in waters, cold waters, 24 hours also. So let's make it simple. Basically, you have your glass where you drink your beer. Beer is chametz, but you have never drink hot beer inside. Never put anything hot. I think it was your cup of cold beer. Okay, so you want to use it for Pessah? It's not a problem. What you do is you take them, you put them 24 hours in hot waters. And after you put them 24 hours in cold waters, and he said, you wait 24 hours. Well, let me see. It's more complicated. You see like this. It's nothing to have with hot waters. What you do, you take your glass of where you drink your beer. You put it in water. No matter it's cold or not, don't say hot. It say you put them in water. 24 hours. After you change the waters and you put again, you wait 24 hours without anything. You change the waters, you put again the glass inside of the waters. Basically, you have 3 steps. The first time I put waters and glass. The second time I let the glass 24 hours without anything. The third time I put water and I put the glass inside. I can use after that this cup, this glass for Pessah. It's the case that you don't have enough vessels and you want to use your vessel for Pessah. Halakhot 15. It said, during all the year, you have to be careful. When you buy some vessels in metals used by non-Jewish, you have first of all to bring them to be kosher, used or maybe vessel made by non-Jews. You have to bring them in the tefillah, in the mikveh of vessels, saying the blessing al tfilat kelim. Any kind of vessels, plates, forks, knife, and so on, which have been made by non-Jewish, have to go first in the mikveh before you use them as your personal vessels. You say the blessing al tfilat kelim for 1 vessels and al tfilat kelim for 2 or more vessels. And he said, Ben Israel, here in Baghdad, the tradition is we always say al tfilat kelim, even if we just bring in the mikveh 1 vessels, 1 keli. So for Ominag in Bethel, where I've been taught, is the same. No matter if you bring 1 cup or if you bring 10 cups, you always say al tfilat kelim in plural. He said, any kind of, it's not bottles, but very special, in French, we call it bonbon. But let me see, it's, how I say it, carboy. You know carboy? Carboy. You understand the language? Carboy.
Yes, Rabbi.
Okay. You see, any kind of carboy that you are used to put some wine inside or any kind of alcohol inside, there you have to apply the same rules as like metals. So, but it means that you have to bring them to the mikveh. But if you bought them brand new, you do the tvila with the blessing, according to Bet David. But Matei Yehuda say you don't need the blessings. And he said, this is also the opinion of my master, Moshe Chaim. He was saying that in Baghdad, the tradition is you don't say the blessing. If you buy carboy where we know that we only put alcohol inside, you will not find pork being or any kind of things except of that liquid. So you can just bring them in a big way without blessing. It also, that's what my father, what he's saying, Ben Ish Chai was telling to people. And it's also what the Ben Ish Chai is saying to people. He said, in Baghdad, this tradition is rooted. So people, don't be afraid. 60. Now he finished. So now he finished all the aspects of So what is saying? Now the first of all, we saw the mitzvot of B'dikat Chametz and Biur Chametz. To check if you have any Chametz finding in your house, and after to burn the Chametz in order to do Bitul Chametz, to nullify any possession of Chametz. After we had a new sequence, new time, where we talk about bringing your vessels to be kosher. Two techniques, or boiling or burning. The purpose is to have vessels ready to be used for Pessah, because if you use vessels which were used with chametz during Pessah, it's like you eating Pessah, and this will be dangerous. Why? Because it can produce kind of rust on your soul, and that rust is basically the problem why we have many difficulties to go deeper in our Torah and to understand high level. Now we're going to the third timeline. We will talk about the way to do matzot, because you cannot do matzot if you are not after the stage of I have no chametz, I burn the chametz, I nullify the chametz, and my vessels are pure and ready for Pessah. Now, if you have all this done, now we can start and see and understand about the matzot. He said, matzot, before maybe we start the Halakhot of matzot, like I said every time, let's try to understand what are matzot. So we start to Halakha 60, because we want to understand why they will be so strict with us in the way to do matzot. So we have to know what is matzah. So keep in mind, we start to Halakha 60. But before, we have to know what is matzah, and maybe next time, Bezrat Hashem, we'll be able to continue the Halakhot. So now, in the second aspect of the limud, we want to see what is matzah. Let's just find the place. That's it. Thank you. Rabbi Israel, you have a question?
Yes, Rabbi, I have a question, Rabbi.
Yeah. Yes.
Rabbi, should I go ahead?
Yeah.
Rabbi, my question is that I need clarification on actually what a kames is. Like in this part of the country, we are having some arguments. They say that some people say that Sephardic communities eat rice during Pessah. Some people say that Ashkenaz communities don't eat rice during Pessah. Then some people say that what we have to abstain from are the 5 grains, the kitniyot, that anything that is not of the 5 grains, that we should not abstain, that we should eat it, that is not kames. For instance, the corn here is not among the 5 grains, but my conscience is telling me that the corn, the maize here is kames. But some people are saying that it is not kames, that is not part of the 5 grains. Then again, some people are saying that the white wine, the ordinary palm wine, that is not kames. But I know that the palm wine contains yeast. They say that it's not that type of kames that the Shulchan Aruch is talking about. That the Shulchan Aruch is talking about the 5 grains. So I would like you to throw more light on what we have to abstain from in this part of the country. To that, Rabbi.
Thank you very much for your question. The last part of your question will be hard for me to answer because I don't know all the system in Nigeria regarding all the food are kept in what kind of factory and so on. So I will just give you one direction and you will understand the mindset. So first of all, like say the Gemara and all the Chachamim, that Pessah is maybe the most personal fest that we have in all the Jewish calendar. Each house have its own minhag. And it's really hard to receive people on Pessah because each family, even sometimes each family inside a family have their own minads. Basically, you have to know where you want to put yours. For example, mine in my house, I don't have any problem for eating rice during Pessah. I do eat rice during Pessah. First of all, because I studied Torah and I learned Torah with the Tunisians. The community from Tunisia, they eat rice all Pessah. They don't have problem. Because rice is not among the grains which are forbidden. It's just because rice is usually kept in the same factory with flour and so on. But if you come in Israel, you see, for example, you have a box or maybe pack of rice, kosher for Pesach. So basically, rice is not the problem. The problem is where the non-Jews are used to keep them and what is around the rice when they are kept. But myself, I eat rice. But in the Kabbalah, we have also something different. We know that kitniot is a big secret. What does kitniot mean? Kitniot comes from the word katnut. Katnut means that Za is in the process of being or a fetus or being a baby breastfeed. This is a full part of the Geulah. So the Mekubalim, we don't have any problem to eat katniot, but kitniot, because we know that kitniot is not something bad, opposite. So my advice for you is just be sure that if you have in your family, in your house, the tradition of eating kitniot, just be sure that when you buy that kitniot in Nigeria, they are not settled or they are not kept in the same box, same room, same place with chametz nutrition, chametz food. This is the main problem. But regarding kitniot, Kitniot, we're talking about any kind of grains which are basically able to become, to be elevated, to have yeast inside and they become something chametz. But rice is not in that case. Ashkenazim, they are very, 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 very machmir, very, very strict. For example, the Chabad, they just eat potatoes in waters. It's done. They don't eat any kind of other food. I don't have problem to eat chickpeas. I don't have problem to eat rice. I just prevent myself from, let's say, even 1 month after Pessah, I prevent myself to buy any kind of pasta or any kind of food with chametz which have been kept during Pessah, because the chametz kept during Pessah is dangerous. But on Pessah, it's rice. So you have to be strong in Shulchan Aruch and to see where you want to bring your family, because even community will not bring community. So never start big machloket regarding Pessah, because each house has its own minhag, and this minhag is respected and important regarding the sky, Shamayim. So just build yours. If you have points and you have your heart telling you, oh, you know, Rabbi Israel, we will not eat rice in Nigeria during Pessah, take it, because your situation is not my situation. You get your information, you are Talmid Chacham, you know how to check, how to ask, and you know where the rice maybe is kept. And you see, no, in Nigeria we cannot, Rabbi. I say, okay, Rabbi Israel, believe you. So I will tell to people in Nigeria, don't eat rice. But myself, I know that I have enough information to be able to eat rice. Because also this is my African side. I've been raised up eating rice. So for me, eating rice, it's like some people drink water. So if I have possibility to eat it and to see that this is respecting all the Halakhot of Pessah, and we have now rabbis, for example, I can show you how I have some rice in the Beit Midrash. You see, it's perfect. Thank you for the question, Rabbi Victor. 2 packs of rice, right? You see, it's good. You see?
Yeah, our rice is not like this, Rabbi.
What?
Our rice is it's not our rice is grain, it's not powder.
No problem. I will say something else. It's not about your rice, but do you see the rice in my hand?
Yes, Rabbi. Yes, Rabbi, I can see it.
This is on my left hand. This is on my left hand. Right hand. On my left hand, I see the stamp of kashrut. Do you see?
Yes, Rabbi. Yes, Rabbi, I can see it.
What is written here? Written, Lo kolel Pessah. So this rice is not kosher for Pessah. Why?
Okay.
Because the factory where it was being kept had some chametz product around. You see?
Okay, Rabbi. Okay,
Now
Rabbi.
see, the second box is here. This one. I go here. What do I see? Kasher le Pessah. Les ochle kitniot. For vous, et kitniot. You see?
Yes, Rabbi. Yes, Rabbi.
This is the story. one rice that I will not use for Pessah, but one that I can use. So if I don't open it, Pessah, I got my rice. But this one, no. Why? Because they don't come from the same factory. So you have to check from where comes your rice. You get it, Sadiq?
Yes, Rabbi. We got it, Rabbi.
Baruch Hashem. So let's keep for the next time the matzah aspect. We're going to start matzah there on Yom. Let's read a little bit. Just we start.
Yes.
So I said, I cannot see the picture, but it said like this. הנה, נתבהר לעיל. We said at the top, כי בליל פסעה נכנסים בזעם מוחין לקטנות, אחד לגדלות אחד. לקטנות ב', גדלות ב'. So it's basically, I will not explain because it's night already. On Pessah, Zah will receive 2 brains of katnut and 2 brains of gadlut. Okay, what does it mean? We're going to see. וצריך שתדע, כי יש מוחין מצד אבא ומוחין מצד אמא. You have to know that you have brains coming from your fathers and brains come from your mother, right?
Yes, Rabbi.
He said, בכל בחינה מהם יש כל מדרגות של קטנות וגדלות. So he said, in the brain of your father, you have katnut of your brain father, if you want katnut of Chokhmah, and also gadlut of Chokhmah. And also in the side of Ima, you have katnut of Bina and gadlut of Bina. What does it mean? Katnut for us means Hibur Yenika. It means that you are or in the belly of your mother or you are breastfeed. Gadlut means that you have mochin, you have chabad, you have a man. So in the both aspect of father, Chokhmah, mother, Ima, we have katnut and gadlut. And he said, so you already know also that the brain of father are dressed inside of the brain of mother. It's like this. Abba is never revealed. He's always dressing himself inside of Ima. והנה, בבחינת מוחין דאבא נרמזו בסוד המצה, בסוד הלחם שהוא בחוכמה. So he said, the mochin of Abba, they are called matzah. So what do we did? By pushing away chametz from our house, we brought matzah to be now the brain of Abba, the chokhmah, matzah. So what is matzah? Chokhmah, to be wise. He said, "Besod alechem she'u bechokhmah." So now the matzah will be the lechem. Rabbi Israel, what is the blessing you do before you eat matzah?
Akilat Mazah.
Al-Akhilat matzah?
Yes, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivenu Akilat Mazah.
We have another answer. We have another answer. We are here, Tzadikim.
Rabbi, I'm thinking for another.
What did you say?
Rabbi, I'm thinking to know if he's correct because it's past 1 year we ate mazah here, Rabbi. Just trying to know if it's correct. I think my mind is telling me it's Maror, that I just said the blessing for Maror instead of Maza.
So I hear you. It's no problem. I'm asking, do we have another answer?
No idea, Harav. I think it's
Hello?
No idea, Harav. No idea, Harav.
Rabbi Dean, no idea?
Rabbi, I agree with Rabbi Israel. That's the broker that we use.
Rabbi Eliyahu Shemidia.
No idea, Harav. We have it on the paper. There is a printed paper. That is what we use to do the blessing.
The Haggadah Shel Pessah, Rabbi.
Yes, yes.
So who have the Haggadah of Pessah with him? You have Haggadah with you?
I don't have it here, Harav.
I don't have it with me here, but we have it in our community, Rabbi.
Rabbi Dean, do you have a Haggadah with you?
No, Rabbi, not here.
Let me see. I want to show it to you. So let's see something different. You know the 50 steps of Pessah. What you say? Moti matzah. Right? Right or not? Rabbi Israel, you're here?
Yes, Rabbi.
So what does it mean?
Yes, Rabbi. Mosli Maza.
What does it mean?
Taking the
I don't hear you very well. So I said I will explain to you together.
Rabbi, I said taking.
Okay. What is this? First of all, you say Magid. Magid, you are saying basically reading all the Haggadah. After you arrive to the step of Motzi Matzah. What is Motzi Matzah? It said the matzah that you're going to use for the mitzvah have to be a matzah which have been kept. Okay. This is what we call matzah shmura. That means that any kind of water, it means that from the very first time we got the flour, any kind of water have been contact. So if you have good matzot, you said motzi matzah. And after said, one second. And after you arrive in the moment you're going to eat the matzah, then you will say, al achilat matzah. But all the purpose is before you arrive at al achilat matzah, you are basically in the step called motzi matzah. What is motzi? The only time you say motzi, it's for lechem, right?
It's like bread.
Exactly. So that's why here, Hakadosh is telling you, matzah is taking the place of lechem. That's why the step before you say achilat matzah, you say the step called motzi matzah. These bring you to understand that from that moment, bread for us is no more challah. Bread for us is matzah. And after you say al achilat matzah. But if you say al achilat matzah, but you don't understand that now your bread is called matzah, you don't. That's why he said here, a matzah besod alechem. A matzah is the aspect of lechem now. Who is in chokhmah? So this is very important for you to understand that the matzah is the lechem. So let's finish, and after the women's of the limud. In the aspect of mochin of ima, they are the arba kosot, the 4 cups of wine. So basically, the vav, you, me, we have 2 kinds of brain on Pessah. You have the brain of father and the brain of mother. The brain of father will be the matzot, and the brain of ima will be the 4 cups of wine. Arba kosot yain. Because the wine is in the mother. So we will see more and deeper next time. I will be able to send to you the pictures. So keep in mind, what is matzah? Matzah, this is the secret of the 2 brains. Shte mochin, connected to Chokhmah. Even if they are in Katnut or we are in Gadlut. We're going to see Bezrat Hashem next time. Baruch Adonai Leolam. Amen. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Amen. Amen. That's the Rabbi. Shabbat Tov, Rabbi.
Shabbat Tov, Tzadikim, Shabbat Tov. And talk to you soon and see you soon.
Shabbat tov.
Shabbat Tov.